How do you calibrate SDR and HDR settings for gaming monitors? Imagine sitting down to play your favorite game and everything looks just right. Colors pop, shadows are deep, and bright scenes aren't blinding. That's what proper calibration can do for your gaming experience. Calibrating SDR and HDR settings on gaming monitors involves different steps because these modes use different standards for color, brightness, and gamma. Knowing how to set each one correctly makes a big difference in how your games look and feel. First, understand that SDR, or standard dynamic range, uses a gamma curve usually set to around 2.2 and standard color ranges. It's what most desktop and gaming content use. HDR, or high dynamic range, uses a different curve called perceptual quantizer or street to 0.84. This allows for brighter highlights and a wider color palette, making supported games more realistic and vibrant. When you switch to HDR mode in Windows or on your monitor, it changes the color profile and gamma curve, which can make SDR content look dull if not set properly. To calibrate SDR, you'll want a hardware colorimeter like the X-Rite i1 Display Pro. Connect it to your computer and use calibration software to measure your monitor's color temperature, gamma, brightness, and contrast. Aim for a gamma of about 2.2 and a white point of 6500 Kelvin for accurate colors. Adjust the monitor's brightness so blacks are deep but shadow details are still visible. After calibration, apply the ICC profile created by the software to ensure colors stay consistent in SDR mode. Also, turn off any dynamic contrast or gaming presets that might alter the image unexpectedly. Calibrating HDR is a bit trickier because most colorimeters and calibration software don't support HDR measurement well. First, enable HDR mode in Windows settings and update your graphics card drivers. When in HDR mode, avoid using ICC profiles because Windows and the monitor handle color differently. Use the Windows HDR and SDR brightness balance slider to set a comfortable level where bright scenes aren't washed out and shadows are still visible. Adjust the monitor's HDR brightness setting to prevent overly bright images, especially in darker rooms. Some advanced calibration tools can measure peak brightness and color volume, but these are usually for professional setups and cost a lot. For gaming, start by calibrating SDR mode first since most games run in SDR. Only switch to HDR when playing HDR-supported titles or viewing HDR content. If your monitor has separate presets for SDR and HDR, calibrate each one individually. Avoid trying to calibrate HDR with standard SDR tools, as this can lead to inaccurate colors and gamma errors. If your monitor has in-game HDR calibration options, use those to fine-tune brightness and contrast for your specific display. Keep your graphics drivers and windows updated to get the best HDR support and color accuracy. One common challenge is that HDR can make SDR content look dull or washed out because the display expects a different curve. Many gaming monitors have limited HDR calibration controls, so you might not be able to fine-tune everything perfectly. Calibration software often struggles with HDR, so don't expect perfect results there. The key is to set your SDR properly with a colorimeter and ICC profile, then switch to HDR only when needed. Adjust the HDR brightness and balance settings to match your room lighting, and avoid mixing the two modes unless you want inconsistent visuals. Proper calibration takes a little time but results in a much better gaming experience with vivid, accurate colors and good contrast across all your content.